Hi, friend. David here from Above AVL, and today, snuggled into place, we have got ourselves the Yamaha DBR12, and we want to take a look at it, let you know what we think from our listening test, and really give you a solid, good look at this speaker and how to figure out if it's the right one for you. Let's dive in. So the Yamaha DBR12 is part of the DBR series, which in Yamaha powered speakers is basically the entry level or the lowest end option that Yamaha has. What you find in these is an excellent price point. Yamaha's 7-year warranty that you get on their powered speakers. Who else offers that? Boom. I mean, if you abuse it, it's not going to be covered under warranty, right? But manufacturer defects covered. And, it's a plastic box speaker, which again used to kind of be a curse word in the audio industry. Now there's a lot of plastic box speakers that sound very good. And, it's got some basic features. We're going to talk about it. This is a pretty bare bones, really solid speaker that can do a number of things well, right? It's designed as a PA speaker, but it also has, the tilt built into it to be able to do monitors. The horn's not rotatable, so you're stuck with, I think it's 35 or 40 degrees. We'll put it on the screen when you're in stage monitor mode, and it's 90 vertically. Not super ideal, but on a budget, it's going to be the typical thing that you see on any other thing from any other brand. Single speaker mounting pole on the bottom, so no tilt down, but there are stands that can accommodate that. Handles right and left, okay, 12-inch driver and a high driver, and the Yamaha back panel, which there's this amplifier and control module is what a lot of their speakers have. Okay, so what do we like about this speaker? Yamaha speakers, if you're not familiar, have a few really good things going for them. Number one is, spec for spec going against other speakers in the same price range. This thing really kicks butt. It hits a high SPL, but it also sounds good when it gets there. So it hits 131 decibels as its max, which is really pretty good for a budget speaker. It has Yamaha's DSP built in, which is kind of the secret sauce that we really like, being that you get a selectable high pass filter off 100 hertz or 120 hertz. And then you have the decontour modes, which are EQ basically, DSP for stage monitor, for front of house and main, or just off. Okay. The difference between these is that they have slightly different EQ curves. And the biggest thing is that those EQs are actually kind of dynamic. So as the speaker gets louder, they shift. If you've ever worked with live sound, you've been mixing, especially on more budget speakers, and you start to push things loud, most powered speakers start to get tinny or harsh in the high end, and the high driver and the low driver start to get a little bit out of balance. Okay. With the Yamaha stuff, that doesn't happen because as you make it go louder, it accommodates for that. So we love that. You also have two inputs, including one with an RCA jack for, DJ turntable, a PC, phone, whatever. And you have a throughput that can be mixed from the inputs on the front. So in a really simple situation, you can hook up a couple mics or a mic and some playback, mix it, send that mix out to a second speaker. Super helpful. Typical non-locking power. So let's talk about how this thing sounds. Okay, I've spent an extensive amount of time listening to this speaker, probably about a week of total listening and comparing it to other speakers on the market. And I'm at least convinced that this is going to be one of the best budget options there is out there on the market. It sounds good at both low volume levels and high volume levels. Compared to a higher end speaker, there's a few things you're going to see that are different, right? The first is directivity. Like within the frequency range, you'll occasionally, hear a couple spots where the highs or the lows might be slightly out of balance. That's typical. As you go to the sides or the back of the speaker, you're going to hear a fair amount of low end, especially to the sides, etc. Really typical stuff. Okay, that's going to be the difference between an entry level speaker, and over there we've got some of the other Yamaha stuff, and they've got their top of the line, the DZR. As you move up in speaker, you get better directivity, meaning what you hear off axis is going to be much less, and within the area that the speaker covers, it's incredibly consistent, right? The DBR12 isn't bad. It just, isn't going to blow your socks off, right? It's pretty typical. You want to be careful, especially in spaces if you're hanging them, that, you don't do like a center cluster with people directly under them because you end up usually getting a lot of bass that can cause feedback and other issues. But, as a go-to, simple utility speaker for a church, a band, a DJ, these are a great option. Like they're not the best sounding thing on the market, but they sound quite good. They get fairly loud, they're well built, they have multifunctionality. They're actually pretty lightweight in terms of speakers, thanks to the plastic box. And, at the end of the day, they don't get really harsh when they're loud. And so this is a great kind of secondary speaker. We have a lot of people, if they're doing simpler stuff or they're just on a budget, they go with the DVRs. They're really happy. Or even if you're just trying to add some speakers for some fill speakers, something you use occasionally as a monitor, occasionally as a main for something else, these are an excellent fit. A lot of good features in the box, really good sound. Definitely worth checking out. So we've got these at aboveavl.com. In fact, we try to keep them in stock all the time so you can always get your hands on them. And be sure to always request a quote from us. We'll hit over your personalized pricing. On lower end speakers, it's hard, but we do our best to try to bundle things together, help you get exactly what you need, answer your questions, and then get it out the door to you. If that sounds good, we'll see you at aboveavl.com. Thanks for watching.